Hello folks, you might be wondering what you're looking at here, and well, we're gonna go ahead and explain this weird looking hexagonal format table at you. This is Sea3d is the name of the program. It's essentially a computerized version of Settlers of Catan. Yes, Cat, it is. It is exactly Settlers of Catan. If you've ever played Settlers of Catan, it's essentially kind of a strategy board game. There's a lot of luck involved, and there's a lot of some strategy involved in there too. If you're looking at this right here, these numbers on the board right now represent the rolls that will net you these particular resources, and you have sheep, lumber, ore, wheat, and clay, and those five resources let you create certain objects in the game. And here I'll bring up the legend real quick by trading some of these resources in. This is wheat, ore, and sheep. You can get a development card. And development cards, they're kind of like bonus cards. They have different little effects on them, such as, hey, here's a soldier, and I'll explain kind of what those things do. You can also get some resources or claim resources from other people with those cards. Some of them let you build roads faster. There's a few different cards. There's not a lot in the basic version, and there's a lot of expansions for Settlers of Catan, but I'm just going to be playing this particular base version. And possibly in the future we will have a sort of a community game. Maybe we'll host a Skype call and play a couple rounds of Settlers. It's pretty easy, small download. I'll put up a link for that in below the video. While Cat molests a blanket. Thank you, Cat. Anyway, down the list, we've got lumber and clay turn into roads. Lumber and sheep turn into ships. Both of these are pretty much the same thing, except for the fact that ships let you go out to the sea, and which on this map doesn't really matter much because there's no like islands or anything. As you can see, this is pretty much the basic map. Roads let you connect to these other little spots. Yes, Cat, it sure does. You essentially build little settlements around these spokes on the hexagon, and you can't have settlements next to each other, so the maximum you can put on a particular hex is 3 settlements. Now, recall there is other teams in the game, so theoretically you can kind of cut each other off or prevent people from getting spokes or claiming spots around a particular hexagon. The settlements here cost 1 lumber, 1 wheat, 1 clay, and 1 sheep. And this here is a city, and cities are essentially just upgraded towns or villages or settlements or whatever you want to call them. They take 2 wheat and 3 ore, and essentially anytime that you have a city on one of these, if that number comes up, you get double that resource instead of just 1. Now I'm going to clear that out. Let's make a settlement. Now, settlements, the general strategy is you kind of look at the board. You can actually have a game setting where you actually can't see any of the numbers until after placement, but default is kind of this. You kind of look at numbers. Thank you, Cat. You look at these numbers, and the general setup kind of looks to be you want to hit numbers with the better odds of coming up. You want to have your positions, you want to have yours, especially your early settlements, somewhere near the high odds numbers. These ones in red are the most common. So 6. If you're looking at 2d6 or 2 6-sided dice, your most frequent numbers are going to be 6, 7, and 8 on those dice. Thank you, Cat. The resources here I'm gonna say this is probably a good spot right here. Quit it, dummy. And once you put your first at the beginning, you get to place 2 settlements and 2 roads. And each person takes a turn placing down a settlement and a road. Since I'm playing Hot Seat, I'm kind of playing both of them just to kind of show off the settings here. I'll put one. Yeah, this would probably be a good place, except for the fact that, you know, it's 2 of the same resource right here. But and then, yes, I know, I'm thinking about it. There's not a lot of great numbers all nested together that aren't already over here. Yes, I know. Bad placement on my part. I can't stress that enough. Let's see. God, you're being an asshole today. Yes, you are. Let's see. I'm thinking. You know, probably would be right. Well, no, not even there. Silly enough. I guess I could put it right here. And cut downwards. I know. And this is kind of a small, like, I think it's 2 to 4 player map. More players, you would have bigger space, and you'd have more likely frequency of better numbers showing up. If I don't remember the exact number, but there's like a set number of these little pogs that tell you exactly what the role is for those resources. So sometimes you'll get on the smaller maps, you'll get kind of, you know, just a bad draw of low numbers like these. This is just kind of a poor area. Let's see, I think I will go with... There's several different kinds of strategies involved in the game. You can look at it and say, you know, hey, I want to cover most of my resource bases by picking more than one resource type for each of my areas. So, like, you don't want to take all wheat. Unless, of course, you want to play to a strategy where you're going to trade that wheat off. And these little port areas here, like this particular resource, the sheep here, if you have a settlement or a city on one of these ports, you can actually trade any 2 sheep that you have for any one of any other resource. Normally, by the rules of the game, it takes 4 trade in for any one resource. So regardless, let's say I have, you know, this 6, and this 6 is coming up a lot. If I want to trade that wheat and turn it into clay, it's going to take me 4. Whereas if I had a port over here, it would only take me 2 to trade that into that clay into whatever, or that wheat for here, trade that wheat into whatever. But no, let's not, like I said, not a lot of great places. I think I will put, yeah, I think I'll put one here. Why not? And then essentially what it turns into is a game of roles, and you see it'll tell you who gets what on each roll, and it'll light up what segments were rolled, and tell you kind of what resources are there. And then you can trade off to other people, like say, hey, I really want a sheep, or I really want you know, whatever. Hook me up with, you know, your gore. Not that, you know, not that anybody has to accept. In multiplayer games, you can actually offer up multiple a trade to the whole entire room and say, hey, I'll trade these 2 whatevers for one of your whatevers. And yes, no, I know what I'm talking about, Ken. Yeah, I know. Thank you. But trading kind of comes into play occasionally in bigger games, but smaller games, there's not a lot of trading going on. And then click OK. Since I'm playing a hot seat, just going to show us off. you're actually seeing everything here, as opposed to on multiplayer, you wouldn't actually see anybody else's anything as far as what specific cards they have, and you can see their victory points and how many of what resource or of what they have still left in stock. There is a limit to how many settlements and cities and roads you can have out on the map per person, so you kind of do have to strategize a little bit. You can't just go hog wild and build 100 different settlements. It is kind of like Monopoly in the fact that once you place cities down, you regain settlements back. So you can technically have a whole 9 total like spots covered once you place everything down. That's not in the turn because there's nothing going on. Early on, when nobody has any resources, it kind of just turns into a lot of rolls. Again, occasionally you can pull off some trades, especially in like 6-player games. You know, oh hey, somebody rolled well. Maybe they'll trade me some, you know, ore or whatnot, something that I need. I'm missing one for this, and maybe they can need or use what I'm offering them for trade. I think I will put a road here, and right now, not that these are great numbers, but it's not a bad place to put another settlement right here, so I could cover this 8 with 2 spots, and I have a port out to this, so I could trade any of this ore off that I'm getting for any other resource. And again, it's kind of strategy you can play around with whether or not you want to just cover spaces on the board, or ring up around a particular resource and just harvest the crap out of it and trade it off for anything that you might need. There's kind of different strategies depending on how people are playing. Some people will play really aggressive and try to spread themselves out across the map and choke people off from other spots. Other people will like to ball up and just kind of hog on a resource, make sure that they're the only ones getting it, and trade it off to whoever they can trade it to for whatever resource they need, or the bank, as far as the ports go. And so far, I'm getting a lot of timber. And you can see right now, the game does keep track of your points. This little smiley face from Faceball 2000 is the points. Most standard games go to 10. Bigger games might go a little higher. It also keeps track of your longest road. The player with the largest road beyond 5 gets 2 victory points. And is it 2 or 3? I believe it's 2. That can also be a big victory. That's kind of what kind of drives people to push out from doing the whole trading biz. Now you can kind of ring up and have a real long road in like kind of a snaky formation, but if you play real aggressive, you can kind of build those roads out, and roads prevent other people from building into those areas. Like if I built a road all the way through here, nobody could build in any of these spots that these roads connect to. They would have to, the only way they could get any other thing down there, any other settlements, would be to build a road down through and connect to that one specific spot that they want to build on. Otherwise, if you build enough roads around something, nobody else can get down through it, through your road and build in your territory, essentially. Again, early on, it is kind of dull. There's just a lot of rolling and waiting for resources. You do get the end. The game, I don't know why it automatically went to this. See, the game will automatically trade resources for you to get a road. So like, it normally only takes 1 timber and 1 clay, but since I have 4 ore, the game says, well, I can automatically trade that in for you, 1 timber, and you can build that road now. Yeah, 2 points for that road. So now Dasgoon is ahead by 2 points because I have a road of 5. And the only way to get that back on the other team would be to make a road of 6. Just making, just tying doesn't get you anywhere, but you have to go ahead of the other person to get those points back. The other ways to get points, every settlement, every city is a point. Every road above 5, whoever's got the longest road. Having the largest army, and when you have an army of 3 or more out, you get a point for that. Armies consist of the soldier cards, which you would... Oh, hey, look at that. The worst part about... Well, not the worst part about the game, but the kind of the misfortune of the game is you can only have up to 7 cards in your hand by default. If you have more than 7 cards in your hand, you have to discard cards if somebody rolls a 7, and this is on anybody's turn. So if you're playing 3, 4 people, and you have a lot of people that have resources just hanging around waiting for their turn to come up, and somebody rolls a 7, all of them have to dump down cards to 7 cards. Oh, let's see. Or no, sorry. I think they actually have to dump down more than that. Lose 5 cards? Yeah. Alright. I thought I was just down to 7, but I guess it's down to 5. And you get to place the robber. And the robber is one of those things that can really it's kind of one of the more aggressive things of the game, I guess. Besides road building, you could put this robber down, and what it essentially does is it nullifies a square. Now, I could entirely, you can take a card, you can choose to steal nothing, but at the moment, I'm going to steal. I'm going to steal a card. What this robber does is it nullifies this spot. So anytime 8 comes up, no resources are going to be procured from this square here. So that's kind of the big blow against the people who play like specific resource. If they happen to ball up around a specific resource early on, you can essentially kind of stymie them a bit by putting the robber in one of those particular resources that they're essentially monopolizing. Back-to-back 7s. And that's kind of another thing we've always, when we've played this game on the net, we've had a lot of people that just, I don't know why I put that there. I just put it there. I'm just showing stuff off. Not a real game, guys. It's one of those things where sometimes you can get in rows of 7s back-to-back-to-back. Or, maybe within 5 rolls, getting 3 different 7s and having people just toss the robber back and forth between spaces and stealing the same cards over and over again. It's one of those things that is entirely, it's part of the luck-based challenge of the game, I guess. But it's one of those things that kind of just upends the game. You're like, what the? I was doing so well, and then there was that time where 4 7s were rolled, and everything went to hell from that point on. Right, well, I don't have any resources worth trading in for settlements or anything. I think that's probably because I don't have any roads outwards to other settlements. Remember, you can't build settlements on spokes right next to each other, so you need a 1 space between them. And this particular here, the green side doesn't have another road outwards, so I can't build any resource. I can't build any settlements anyway. I don't have a spot ready on the road, essentially. So we'll go with trading in and getting a card. Got a soldier card. I do not believe you can play that card the same turn. No. Okay, so it takes 1 turn, generally, from a lot of the cards before you can play them. But the soldier card will essentially let you move, let you forcefully move the robber. And just steal another card from the other guy. It lets you forcibly move the robber into another spot. Oh, hey, look. So now you play the card, and move it back down there and steal that sheep back. And you'll notice that this comes up here, and that's your army size. I thought it said it if she moused over. Anyway, again, once you get an army size of 3 or greater, if you have the most army, you get, I believe that's another 2 points. And essentially, you just play to 10 points by connecting big roads up, putting as many settlements as you can down, buying cards. This particular square here, the desert square, doesn't actually do anything in this particular variant of the game. Again, there's other variants, there's other expansions, there's other like squares that take up the place of the desert. Me and the people I play with, generally, we kind of changed up between the volcanoes and the jungles. The jungles let you get discovery tokens anytime that number is rolled, and if you get 5 discovery tokens, you get a free development card. So those games, you have a lot of people holding onto a lot of development cards just because of the nature of the jungles. The volcanoes have a 1 through 6 on them. If that number comes up for the volcano, you get a gold, and a gold lets you essentially turn it into any one resource, any of the 5 resources in the game. So it's essentially like any zone. So it pays off. On the other hand, anytime that number comes up, it rolls again 1 through 6, and any point on this hexagon has a number beside it, and that number, if that number comes up on that second roll, your settlement is destroyed by lava. So it's a 1 in 6 chance that any time that number comes up, you might lose that settlement. But again, it kind of does pay off having that one spot turn it into any one resource, especially if numbers are kind of poor in other places. It can be worth the risk. And again, sometimes these turns are kind of boring. It is a board game essentially, so it's kind of a like slow pace, relaxed, just kind of rolling dice and watching some numbers roll by. And hey, placing that robber again. Oh, hey, that was my turn. Why did I do that? Alright, anyway. But the Sea3d program does give you some pretty cool information about the game. Come up and, like, I can bring up the dice rolls, and it tells you the frequency of what numbers. Come on. Enlargify. And it kind of tells you up to this point in the game what the most average roll is. 6 7s coming up real heavy in this game. Nothing here, nothing here. And it also kind of shows you what people's rolls are. Hey, who's rolling the most 7s? Hey, it's pretty even. And it tells you how much time they're taking per turn, what resources they're getting. Yeah, I mean, it's really pretty in-depth about every little game. It also takes... There's trading, anyway. It also keeps track of all your win-losses, as far as not like it keeps track of it per your little character, your little name that you generate for the game. And let me close it real quick. Oops, what did that message pop up? Oh no. Let's see. I guess I can't end the game. Alright, well, I was gonna try to show off the Grand Shade the Robber. Let's do it. Whatever that is. It seems to do not much anything. Anyway, you kind of have to make up when you first start into the program. You just make up kind of a little nickname or a username or whatever, and it keeps track of your wins and losses. It'll also keep track of your network games, the like IP addresses for games that you've played and whatnot. And it's pretty handy little program for a free small download, so it's definitely worth checking out. I will put details down in the box underneath the comments, or not underneath the comments, underneath the video, about where you can download it. I'm also kind of planning to start up maybe like a small Hamachi network, specifically for playing stuff like Sea3d. Might try for maybe a Civilization 2 game in there as well. Maybe a couple turns. It's a game. Civilization 2 is one of those games that you can kind of just keep in the background, and whoever's playing can let their turn hang on for as long as they want. So if everybody wanted to link up and just play like a week-long game, but everybody kind of takes their turn when they can take their turn, that would kind of be what ends up happening. You used to be able to actually play the game through email, and emails would send little codes like for what all they did that turn to each other, and you could actually just play it straight by email. And you'd load up the game, you'd load up that email, and then it would do their turn for them, and then you send an email back with your turn. Kind of like chess by mail. It used to be one of those sorts of things. I don't even know if anybody does that anymore with the internet around, but there's probably some people who still do, chess by mail and games like that via the old-fashioned route. But I will post some details on that kind of stuff. But for now, we'll call it good. I don't think there's too much more that really needs to be covered in this video. That's pretty much the details. Soldier card. It's pretty much, other than going through all the different card types. But again, the cards themselves will actually say exactly what they do on them when you have them. I think there's like 5 or 6 different types of cards, but again, all of them will have the same. It'll have the actual explanation for the card on the screen. So I will hopefully set up a time. I will set up a Hamachi network. It will be in probably another video, or it'll be in the details underneath this video, so check back with that. But for now, I'm going to call it good. So download Sea3d if you want to play it, and maybe we'll get the six-player game going, maybe a Skype call, and we'll post it as a future video. Alright? Have a good one, folks.